I'm Karceno. Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No one knows Karceno and none of these.
There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. Go in and do a raid at someone's house, but you don't have an arrest warrant for them. What's up? What's up? What's up? I decided to come in here and do a boxing rundown for you guys because my day ones came through, and those were my boxing fans. And they were like, I know you don't do boxing pretty much no more. And the guys is like, why? So here's the reason why I don't do too much boxing anymore. The space it's something I don't like. Not the media or who's covering it. I know people are just always going to, but I feel like it's the younger people's job to do it now. What I mean is, you don't have the best fighters fighting each other. You don't really have divisions anymore. You don't really have real champions anymore. There's nothing really to discuss. So I'm like, okay, we see on social media these 2 fighters are going back and forth. We can talk about that. We can't talk about the build up to a fight, and this person will either get this person or that person or this one, because there's so many companies now that's in the way that are new to the boxing game, and they're setting up exhibitions and exhibits rather than actually making real fights. We're seeing sideshow fights. We're seeing people put on boxing matches between guys on YouTube. We're seeing rappers get in there and fight. It's a mess. So I'm not from that realm of boxing. I'm from a realistic point of boxing. So when I cover it and sit there and go over, I want to make sure I'm leading you somewhere that's real. I don't want to say, oh, these 2 seem like they finna fight. They've been going back on social media, this person there, and then the media world has changed. There's no real journalists anymore. You just got rhetoric. 24 hours a day, rhetoric, people that know basically nothing, and it's glazers. That's all it is glazers. And they're going to glaze the business, and whoever glazes the most, they're going to give all the access to. Now, we got credentials because we put in work for so many years that we get Magna Media is the biggest media out there. So if there's like Canelo fighting Floyd Mayweather, Magna Media will be covering that. And to get approved by Magna Media, you have to have the credentials for Magna Media, and we have that. Not too many people have access to Magna Media. It's quite far few and in between. Well, because they're not going to just take any Yahoo off the street. Well, I don't know about now, but back then they didn't. Now, I'm not here to destroy or dump on the sport of boxing, but there's been a global problem over the last 5 years in the sport since the pandemic. Pandemic messed up a lot in this country, and boxing world definitely got messed up because boxing has generated a lot of interest, not from just people watching at home, but for people actually going out to the fights. They're house fights that people will get dressed up to. They will go out, they will support, and a lot of their revenue and a lot of their exposure comes from that. Building a fan base, going out, shaking hands, signing some autographs early in their careers. Now, the problem is, in this new way of era of boxing, you have people that don't want to fight one another. That's the problem, especially at this level. Mm. Well, when you start looking at boxing, right, there were three titles: WBA, WBC, and IBF. Those were the ones that mattered. Get the three belts. Those were the three majoring boxing bodies. Okay. Um, Over the years, the ring belt was just something they crowned you who was the best fighter, pound for pound. And they would just pick the fighter and say, "You're the ring champion." Now they went from that to everybody's got a belt. You get like 5 belts for one fight now. We just made a belt for this fight. We just made you a belt for this fight. So you got the WBF, you got WBABBF champion. You got so many belts that it doesn't even make sense no more. It kind of dilutes the game. But it's all for a sanctioning fee. You got fights that are not even title fights. Don't matter. It's an interim title fight, so you got to pay the WBC. So you're being taxed for all of it. This is the same thing that Terrence Crawford was talking about. Like, dude, you guys are like taking like all everything that we represent and just ruining it. Oh, Zuffa boxing is a joke. They're trying to make a UFC for boxing, and they want to get a pass the promoter, the Muhammad Ali Act, so they can rip off the fighters, and they get to keep all the money. Same way they do in UFC. That's why UFC fighters are broke, and boxers make more money than them, and have been collectively forever. And there's nothing that the UFC fighter could do because they work for a company. MMA is not even a real sport. Mixed martial arts is just a name. UFC is a company. So they had a monopoly going until everybody like Bellator and everyone else got to come around. Now, here's what we're going to do here. What's up, Shay? Glad to see you. We're going to do some things here that brings forth the realities of situations so that people could get it, they can understand it, they can follow it. Because when you pay attention to what matters, these things come full speed ahead. And I never want anybody to be behind anything that we got going on. So naturally, there are people who were concerned, had concerns about everything that we were doing for some odd reason. But a lot of people are connectedly attracted to things that we say or move into the boxing world. And I'm appreciative of all the years people still like to have my insight on what I see from the sport. And do I still watch the sport? I absolutely watch the sport. I don't think I've missed a fight. You might not hear me talk about it, but I don't miss the fights. I sit there, I still watch the fights. I see what I like, I see what I don't like. Sometimes I talk about it, sometimes I don't. I'm busy discussing everything else and other topics when they're actually having bouts because the top fighters aren't fighting each other. Terrence Crawford, he came out, he fought Canelo, and that's it. You know, he's pretty much retired, so he's gone. He's at the top of the game, and Floyd Mayweather's gone. He was at the top of the game. Who's after him? We got the younger fighters. Are they fighting each other? It's only one person I really seen actively trying to make fights, and that's Devin Haney. Devin Haney Jr. is the only one that I remember going out trying to actually make fights. While everybody else was just talking, he's trying to get these fights done. Now, I don't understand how Ryan Garcia can get a title fight against a guy who had a draw with Manny Pacquiao. Looked like he took a dive. It was just awful. That fight still gives me a bad taste in my mouth. To let Ryan Garcia get a belt after he just lost in a title fight with Rolly Romero, where he just basically quit after getting dropped. Mm. No, that isn't the case. And definitely not one here. Now, that all of that is completed, we can get back to the get back. Errol Spence Jr. and Charlo brothers. Now, everybody knows about my situation with the Charlos that happened back in like 2014 or around that time. So all of that came and went. Now we're looking at a situation that's entirely different. The scenarios have changed. Errol Spence came up with Derek James. The Charlo brothers used to train with Ronnie Shields. Ronnie Shields was at the Plex gym. He had Eris Londi Lara, and he had the Charlo brothers. But they never had a gym, so they used to work at a big complex called Plex, where everyone can come there. You got a membership, and all the fighters would come there. And Sean is from Texas, just like the rest of them. He saw the Charlo brothers when they was little, grew up. Sean is the person who was my business partner. We both owned boxingsocialist.com. That was the website, right? Still going. It's now boxing and basketball. But we both owned the website. So Sean knew the Charlo brothers way better than I did. But we seen all the videos. Our team was recording them. Everything was going up, right? So it was a big fallout. We're not going into that. But Errol and these guys all grew up. Errol's from the Dallas area. He's not really from there. They're from the Houston area. But Errol would come up here, train. They would see each other. They own the same boxing cards. They would all hang out, party. They all under Al Heyman. Now, here's the dynamic. As they're coming up, Jamal and Jermell are not feeling like if Jermell has a bad fight or a tough fight where he feel he wasn't looking good or he lost the fight, he don't feel a certain way. He's gonna feel I'm not getting to the level I feel I need to. I need to expand. I want to do things I want to do now. So Jermell split from his brother and Ronnie Shields and went and got his own gym and started training with Derek James, who was Errol Spence's trainer. And he was over there with Errol. They were best friends. And he would bring out Samaje, because Samaje Thomas from Chicago, we got signed with Al Heyman Boxing. He was signed with Al Heyman, and he went over to, after signing with Al Heyman, he went over to, where did he go from there? I think he went over to, he went with Ronnie Shields. So Ronnie started training him and working with him, and he's with the Charlo brothers. So that's where they became friends. So when he left, Samaje was with him, and he flew him out to Puerto Rico or whatever. They started training together. It was all love. Then the whole dynamic went to another direction because all of these people were friends. Everybody got along. Even when they split and went to separate gyms, it was no disrespect. He just didn't want to train with Ronnie Shields anymore. That's Jermell. Jermall stayed with Ronnie and was like, nah, we don't make it, just us. So him and Jermall were doing what they're doing. Jermell is over here doing what he's doing. Errol Spence is on the top of the game. He's sparring with Errol all the time, getting them ready for fights. So everything is moving in a direction that seems to fit what they like to do in their agenda. Oh, H-Town, K, Scott, we'll have to go. We've told this story so many times on here. You'll have to look it up. I just don't feel like rehashing myself and Charlo because it's not even really necessary. I'm just giving you a backstory how we know all of this. So now Errol is with Derek James. Jermell is with Derek James. They're in the same camp. Now, even though Jermell is the guy, Errol is number one. So whenever Errol's got something going on, Derek James is going to be working with Errol, and Jermell will be second. Even when he was getting ready to train for Canelo, Errol was the concern. So his whole thing was Errol. What's going on with Errol Spence Jr.? So the problem was Errol lost. And then he's like, okay, well, now I'm going to be number one. Errol's lost. Now it's my time. He was there for Errol when Errol lost to Terrence Crawford. Right? Right after that happened, he thought Derek James was going to be on his side. And meanwhile, when this is over and the payment comes in, Derek James and Errol fall out immediately over money. Because Derek James said, hey, I didn't get my money. And he trained some of Errol's fighters from the stable that they're in. So it separated a lot of stuff business-wise. They had to go to court, get settlements, and Errol was reneging on what he said he was going to pay. And it's a big mess. And boxing I'm going to tell you, it's a loveless sport. It really is. It's loveless. They don't love you in this sport. There is no brotherhood. The dude that's talking about, I'm your brother, I love you. He hugging you one day, he hates you tomorrow. The loyalty, you think all the promoters want to screw over the fighters and get their money. You know why they want to screw over the fighters? Because the fighters is trying to screw over the promoters. They don't care. There's no loyalty in this game. They will stab you in the back for a bag so quick. They don't care. Errol is not retired. He's fighting in July. He's fighting Tim Tszyu coming out of his, what he said is a retirement. He's fighting Tim Tszyu in July. Now, Errol is not with Derrick James anymore. They split. So Derrick James was supposed to train Jermell Charlo, get him ready for Canelo, right? So while he's supposed to get him ready for Canelo, he's dealing with, I believe, Anthony Joshua. So Anthony Joshua fight was coming up. And so Anthony Joshua went top of the list and not Charlo. So Charlo is training for Canelo with some guy that's basically on the couch, living in the gym. And by the time he comes back, which is like a week before the fight or 2 weeks before the fight, here comes Derrick James, and he don't know what they've been working on, what they've been training with, how they've been moving, nothing. So, Jermell's like this. He comes in, he don't even speak to the guy who's been training me for about 2 months and us grinding. He just walked right past that guy and me and him just start working. And he's not even communicating with him. So he don't know what we've been working on. And we just go for 2 weeks doing this thing that he wants to do. And we get into the fight and, he ain't have his best. He lost. So now the trainer is the reason I lost. Wasn't me. So therefore, it's an excuse, but it's what happened. Now, while all of this is going down and taking place, there were a lot of changes, buddy. A lot of changes that's happened in the sport. Because Errol feel as if, you know what? Y'all did me dirty. And because y'all did me dirty, now we got to do it this way. Y'all put everybody ahead of me. So Errol Spence already left Derrick James. Jermell Charlo left Derrick James. So now, I don't know what Derrick James and what he's doing now, but he's without a fighter. But he's mad at Errol Spence. And he was like, man, Jermell has always been jealous of me. And he kind of felt Jermell was jealous of him. He just didn't really say anything about it, but he felt like Jermell was always jealous of him because he was. The Charlo brothers, and it's not because I got disdain for him or anything like that, because I don't. I have no problems with Jermell Charlo. I just know what he is. I know what his brother is because of the incident we had. Knew how they worked and everything. Jermell left his brother to become his own man. We always knew Jamal was the one bringing Jermell down. And Jermell would just follow because that's his brother and he wanted to be supportive. That's how he used to be before he became his own man and separated himself from his brother and be like, look, just because he's my twin, he got his life, I live my life, we're different. So let's look at it from a boxing standpoint. Jermell Charlo now is a man who haven't fought in 2 years. Errol Spence is a man who haven't fought in about 3 years. They both fought now. It's about 3 years now since the last time they fought. Jermell Charlo hasn't had a fight since he got knocked out not knocked out, but dropped by Canelo and went 12 with Canelo. I don't think we've seen Jermell Charlo in the ring since. Jermell Charlo came out and had one fight. First fight he had in about 3 years. And he's right back outside of the ring again. Don't know who he fighting, when he getting the fight. Errol is now coming back from the first time in 3 years. So all of these fighters Al Heyman has been on the shelf for like 3 years. So now they all coming back because they need the money. They keep talking about, I'm super rich. I don't need no money. You need the money. When you could have fought Terrence Crawford, went back to 54 and fought Terrence Crawford and got a big check after the Canelo fight. No, you ain't want to do that because you knew I can't have back-to-back losses. You see, that's the problem in today's game. None of these young fighters, they scary. They don't want to take the chance and fight nobody. They think they might lose. No, because that'll mess me up. If I take him, I might lose. That's a tough fight. They want all easy fights. So if you're the promoter, you can't make your fighter fight anybody. You could just present them the fights and say, hey, well, these the fights. Then you end up got to drop them, and you done just wasted money signing this guy. They don't want to fight. Then the fight is there, and then on fight day, they talking about they sick and they can't go. You know, you see these guys, man, they got all this talent. And you're like, man, y'all got all this talent. Like, why ain't y'all fighting? This don't make no sense. If everybody wanted to be Floyd Mayweather, they'd be fighting everybody. Floyd Mayweather fought everybody. Floyd Mayweather trains like every day, discipline. They don't follow that part of Floyd Mayweather. They want to follow Money Mayweather. They ain't want to be Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather, but even Money Mayweather trained just as hard as he did when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. 4 in the morning, up, running. 2-3 miles on the road. 4 miles. Putting in road work. Hitting the gym. 2 a days, 3 a days if he feel he needed to. That's missing from the game today. So, Tim Tszyu is fighting Errol Spence Jr. So here comes Jermell Charlo now. He's calling out anybody that'll listen. He calling out their mama, the daddy, anybody who want to listen, he want to fight them. Now he want to call out Bud Crawford. Now he want to call out everybody. 2-3 years later, and the well done dried up. Now you want to call out names. And this is nothing to do with me and the Charlos beef that we had in the past. This is me as a boxing fan wanting to see boxing. When they was coming up in this game, they never fought the guys they were supposed to fight in their division. That's the facts. That's the problem. You didn't fight the people you were supposed to fight. And that was the big problem. That's what held you back. That's what kept you from getting to the top of the game. Y'all beat yourselves. Demetrius Andrade, right? They never fought each other. Demetrius Andrade never fought Errol Spence. He never fought any of the Charlos. Jarrett Hurd, another fighter at their division, didn't fight any other Charlos. How does that happen? Or Errol Spence. How did that happen? How did that happen? How do you go through your career and didn't fight those fights? Y'all were all coming up together as the young fighters in the division. How does he get past both brothers? Caleb Plant don't fight you or your brother. No Charlos on the resume. Got slapped up and everything. None of them. Because even when they was young, all they cared about was the camera. Putting on a show for the cameras. Now, they'll work hard. They'll work out. They'll do the whole thing. Now, if you do the plant fight, what is it going to look like? So you see what I'm saying? With they never fought anybody. Jermell never fought Triple G. He never fought anybody at middleweight. Anybody. No middleweight fights. It's crazy. And then they get mad when fans don't care about them, don't give them none of the attention and none, because they run from the big fights. They run from it. They want all this attention. Man, these dudes can't mess with me. They ain't even on my level. I run Texas. Any of the Charlos fight Boots Ennis. He had 54. Did y'all fight Arislandi Laura? Y'all didn't fight Laura. And I'm like, why you ain't fight him, man? You don't work, you ain't with Ronnie no more. Now Errol Spence got Ronnie Shields as his trainer. And now Jermell doing all this talking because he hoping to get the winner of Errol and Tim Tszyu. If it happens, great. But Spence and Tim Tszyu was fighting July the 26th. But like he says, Errol can call, like he said, like, look, man, here's the difference. I can call up and say, hey, I'm ready to fight, and I get a fight in 3 weeks. There's a reason he couldn't get a fight, and I can. That speaks volume, bro. That speaks large volumes, because that's facts. There's a reason Errol Spence can't get fights, because they don't draw nothing. They're not a draw. They're not box office because they're not fighting. They just run their mouth on social media. All they do, you got highlights of them, is them running their mouth. That's it. That's the only highlight you don't see from a Charlo fight, is them running their mouths. Because what they are is a bunch of failed basketball players who made it to boxing, and the only markability they have is that they look alike. Oh, identical twins. Let's push that. That's all they care about. If that's your agenda, if that's what you're about, if that's your legacy, that's what you're going to become. Because the brothers can be fooled into believing that these guys are actually really good when they haven't really fought anybody. So when you start thinking about it overall, you go, are they really good? You never know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say who's good and who's not, especially in today's time. I'm straight up. It is hard to say. What's the gauge to say this fighter is better than that fighter? What's the parameter? We need to come up with some type of different analogy, because there's some type of semblance with other fighters from back in the day into now. People talked a lot of shit about Floyd when he was coming up in the game. But one thing about Floyd, he fought everybody. You couldn't name a fighter he didn't fight. And if that fight didn't happen, that wasn't because of Floyd. I can tell you that now. Floyd Mayweather fought everybody. Cotto, Mosley, Pacquiao, Marquez. I mean, the list went on and on and on. Black Ray Donovan. I'm glad you brought that up. Who is Paul Williams? Why would he be fighting Paul Williams? Paul Williams was a guy who was green. He was fighting on the undercards of Floyd fights. He was not box office. He was a young fighter coming up. They only wanted him to fight Floyd because he was tall and lanky. Like, oh, he could beat Floyd because of his height. It's like he would lose to Floyd. But he's got to build his name up to fight Floyd Mayweather. He hadn't done anything. I'm like, who did he beat? He got beat by Carlos Quintana from Puerto Rico, who hit him with left hooks all night. Hit him with check left hooks all night. What do you think Floyd Mayweather would have done? Hit him with check left hooks and got out the way. Paul Williams just was active. He was athletic, and he just threw a lot of punches athletically, but he did not have boxing ability. Antonio Margarito. You mean Margarito? When you got plaster on your gloves and on your hands, you get disqualified. And even with the plaster, he was losing. He lost to Paul Williams. He lost to Paul Williams. And he had the plaster on his hands in that fight. No one talks about that. They just remember the Miguel Cotto fight. That guy was disqualified. He should have never been allowed back into boxing. Paul Williams didn't have enough boxing ability. He did not. That's why he got knocked out by Sergio Martinez. Again, another southpaw. Paul beat you with activity, not his boxing ability. Trust me, I know fighting. He wouldn't have beat Floyd at all. Floyd was seeing everything he got coming. He just would have been active, and Floyd would have been catching him flush with punches. Because Paul Williams got hit a lot, and they were flush. It's a shame. You would have saw that fight, though, if he didn't. Well, no, I don't think so, because he couldn't make 147. So, but he was scheduled to fight Kelly Pavlik. And then they postponed the fight because of an injury. Then on his way to a wedding, he got in a motorcycle accident and paralyzed himself. He would have died immediately if it wasn't for that helmet. Crawford could have beaten Floyd Mayweather at his peak? No. And the reason that Terrence Crawford would have lost the fight is because Terrence takes more risks than Floyd. Floyd is strategic. It's not going to take a lot of risk. Plus, his defense is a lot better than Terrence's. Terrence has great defense, but he leaves himself open because he'll get very aggressive and take the chances and risks where Floyd take calculated risks. Ray Leonard versus Floyd would be more challenging. Because Ray Leonard is bigger than Floyd and just as fast as Floyd. And Ray takes the risk too. But Ray has a variety of different styles that's problematic for Floyd in the shoulder roll. But Floyd believed in his heart of hearts he'll get Ray. He's like, I'd have got him. I'd have got Ray. So it's something he see in Sugar Ray Leonard fights. That was one of our last conversations we had. Me and Floyd, one of our last conversations we had was about him fighting Ray Leonard. Who would win and how it would go down. Hagler too big. That's out his weight class. Floyd never had a middleweight fight in his life. Bud versus Sugar Ray Leonard. One, that'll be a tough fight for Bud and for Ray. To me, I don't know. I don't know if Bud gets it. Bud will give Ray problems because of his range, his length, and Ray takes risk just like Terrence Crawford do. And he fights in different angles. He's a southpaw. And it depends on which Ray Leonard is showing up, like which Ray Leonard is fighting. See, the thing about Ray Leonard is if this is young Ray Leonard, then, I would give the nod to Ray, like the Ray that fought Benitez. That Ray. Ray beat Tommy Hearns. And to beat Tommy Hearns, being the little guy as Ray was, as far to get in there, Ray had to step into the fire. He couldn't stay on the outside. Because normally Ray would just outspeed everybody. He could just stay on the outside and choose when to come in. One of the things that people underestimate from Ray Leonard is Ray Leonard was strong. He was powerful. He could hit. And they didn't know that until they got in the ring with Ray. And a lot of fighters get surprised because he's so quick. But what Ray Leonard would do is he had different combinations. He had shoe shining moments where he does his wind-up punch. He does his little show, stick his head out, do his Ali thing. But he had combinations. He had a 3-punch combination and then a 1-2 finish. But he always would finish hard. He'd throw the first punches like pow. He throws right hand to the body, follow it up with a left to the body. These are light punches. Pop, pop, just to get your attention. But he will finish up top strong with a right. Boom. And if you're off balance, he'll jab to the body, come over the top again with another right. Boom, pow, come right over the top. And that was to basically shock you, jar your whole existence. So Ray Leonard is still fast to this day, and he's 70. And Ray can still throw hands like lightning, like quick. because he still works out. Where guys like Tommy Hearns is taking a lot of shots and wasn't actively working out, and staying up in shape, that stuff took a toll on him. So now he needs a caretaker to take care of him. And that was my favorite fighter, the Motor City Cobra, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. So that's who I grew up watching. So Ray Leonard was never my guy. But I had respect for Ray, as a fighter, his style. Floyd Mayweather could beat Manny Pacquiao any day of the week. You got to understand, Manny Pacquiao is older than Floyd. And he's a guy that always got hit. He didn't have great defense. Manny don't bounce on his toes no more. What is he going to do to Floyd Mayweather? A guy who can still move, who trains and works out considerably. I mean, it's only worse for Pacquiao because he's a flat-footed Manny Pacquiao. What is he going to do? No. Charlo's back to fight. Okay, that's cool. That's why I want to see fights like Devin Haney. Are we gonna get a fight? We got Shakur Stevenson and fought Teofimo Lopez, and we still don't have no direction of who they fight next. We have Devin Haney is looking to get in a major fight, and it's like, who's he fighting? Nobody's trying to sign up. Who's Ryan Garcia fighting? Are you going to do the Devin Haney rematch? What's happening there? He says he's going to fight Stevenson next after this was over. That he got the style to beat Shakur Stevenson. Okay. Let's see it. Boots is not fighting at 147 ever again. So that's not going to happen. H-Town. I want to see Boots fight Charlo. All right. I want to see one of those dudes should have fought Jared Hurd. These were the guys they were supposed to fight. Instead of just going on camera doing interviews and talking. I mean, you got slapped up by Hurd. You got slapped up by Caleb Plant, and you still ain't fought him. It's ridiculous what happened to him. Then you get all the yes men hanging around you, all the girls and the jewelers. It's like, hey, buy this jewelry. And see, all your money spent and the debt and all your friends you thought you was your friends, they disappeared. Now you put a bunch of new people. And all they're going to do is bring you liquor and drugs. Just help destroy yourself. Then where you going to be? It's pretty sickening, bro. It's hard for me to even talk about sometimes because the game makes you sick. Like sick to your stomach. So it's not always the promoter's fault. You look at Conor Ben, who jumps up and go to Zuffa Boxing, right? And Eddie Hearn was there, brought this guy out of obscurity, gave him the spotlight. And they put him in there with Regis Prograis, and he still didn't look like a world beater. He's really a 6th-round fighter, you know. But after Eddie build him up, promote him, he run over to Zuffa for a check. It's sick. Sickening. Everybody runs behind a check. That's why. No code, no honor, no loyalty. So the promoters has no loyalty for you. It's just the way it is, man. I'm just bringing a reality to the situation, man. Because if we don't pay attention to what's going on, you get left behind. You will get left behind. I know. Tell somebody about it. So, Floyd is fighting in an exhibition overseas. I think him and Mike Tyson fight is still on. The Manny Pacquiao Floyd thing will get worked out in the next couple of hours. So, that's where we are with that. And I mean, that's really it right now. I think we're caught up. The heavyweight division, what's happening there? Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. That fight looked like that might take place and happen. Derek Chisora was basically in a money fight, which should have been his last fight ever against Deontay Wilder. And Wilder this time is just fighting for a check because what else he gonna do to get money? Just the thing. He was at the top. He brought the heavyweight division back with his devastating knockout power. Still got a devastating right hand, but you're not gonna beat any real fighters with that. Like if they get caught, yeah, but they will outbox Wilder any day of the week. But if he hits you, your legs will go. But any of these 245, 265, like these dudes, like Wilder got them chicken legs, because it's really a basketball player. But it is what it is. So anyway, any more boxing questions? You can ask them. I'll take a few more before we get out of here. Boots Ennis versus Floyd at 154. Floyd would beat Boots easy at 154. They would probably have to fight at a catch weight because Boots would probably balloon up to 160, 178. But Floyd at that time would have beat him easy. Look, let me tell you about Boots Ennis, and this is not a hate on Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis hasn't fought anybody. Nobody. He's been fighting a lot of house show guys. So I just want to see him fight something real. so we can really grade him. I mean, he looks good, but he also gets clipped good. What happens when he fights some of the real talent there? Yes, Al Heyman is still with PBC. Mike Tyson would destroy Butterbean in about 3 or 4 rounds, if not two. Do I think Tank will fight a real fighter? Well, I don't know. Tank problem is he doesn't want to fight real fights. He wants to fight just money fights. He doesn't fought a world champion ever. I think he fought Pedraza was the last world champion he fought. He didn't want to fight that fight. He had to get talked in. They thought they were setting him up to lose. That's just how his confidence level was. He wasn't a very confident individual. This is why when he lost his fight, and they should have let him take that loss, but that was a Vegas decision when they gave him the draw in his last real boxing fight. And he never did the rematch with Roach. And then Roach gets in his next fight, and he fought the Pit Bull, and that fight was a draw. But I think Pit Bull really won that fight. But yeah, Lamont Roach fought twice. Tank go back into hiding, and it's just so much nonsense and BS with the game. I just don't like it. So anyway, man, I thank y'all. I'm gonna get up out of here, get ready for this Pistons game. Hopefully, I'll see y'all on the next one. Deuces.